It so confuses me how human beings got the idea for many of the things that we have in our lives, many of the things that we have and use and whatever. I'm wondering how we got the concept that something would be possible. And then we proceed to find a way of doing it. But that's separate. I mean, actually doing something is not the main issue, the main problem to solve. The main problem is the idea in the first place. So I'm thinking about all kinds of things, even something as simple as clothing. How did we get the idea that we could cover ourselves with animal skins or whatever, or even material that we learned how to make and keep ourselves warm that way? How did we arrive at the concept of clothing? Where did that concept come from? It's not as if people would look around at animals and see animals doing the same thing. It's a unique invention of mankind to fashion clothing. And then there are things like tools and whatever. So what surprises me is how we got the idea in the first place that something might be possible. And then we go on to make it separate. But the idea is the first thing. Like the hammer, for example, or screwdriver, or sewing needle. All of these concepts I just find really difficult to understand how we arrived at this idea. And there's so much in the way the world works that follows this thinking that it doesn't make too much sense how we arrived at the idea something would be possible. And then when we arrive at the idea, we proceed to find a way to make it happen, which, as I said, is a separate issue. And that's more understandable, I think. But the idea in the first place is really hard to understand how we ever envisioned it would be possible. Because most of the things that mankind does in terms of assisting ourselves in the environment comes from looking at animals and seeing what animals do and copying them. But with human beings, there's a lot of it original thinking. And it is very impressive the things that human beings have created.